pitching ever, so.
Use the mic.
That's working.
Whenever you're ready.
I'll be waiting for the slides.
You can start with them.
My name is William Gallo, and my industry is emerging market ride sharing. And we'll bring up the slides. I have great slides, I promise. But so basically, I grew up in Kenya. I grew up in Nairobi, Kenya, and then I lived in Malaysia also for 4 years. And in Malaysia, me and 3 other people founded a company called Daxi. It's a ride-sharing company. I was the CTO in charge of building the entire first versions of it. And then, here we go. And then within 3.5 years, it was acquired by AirAsia. I was a little young, I was 24 years old. I didn't know I should have negotiated to have stock, but I was told it was acquired for 9 figures. But I took that knowledge and that experience into my own app, MotorsChat now. So, people overlook ride sharing. Less than 0.5% of new startups are in ride sharing. But because I guess the assumption is there's not more opportunity there. But this is the opportunity. So all the ride sharing apps put together don't even equal $1 billion globally. Uber, everything else combined. But the extra opportunity is, the messaging apps. That's the key, because I know we don't use it much in America, but WhatsApp and WeChat, these are monsters overseas internationally. There's 4.3 billion monthly active users in just those 2 messaging apps, which leaves, 30% of humanity that have internet, that use their phone, daily, but have never used a ride-sharing app. So that's the new markets that we're focusing on. And you might say, well, maybe they don't use ride-sharing because they don't need it, but that's also not true. I know in America, most people own their own cars, but there's so many countries internationally where as low as 10% or even 5% of people own their own cars. They're waiting in line at the taxi stop or outside a metro. They use it to go where they need to every single day. So there's absolutely a market for more ride-sharing. It looks like we aren't doing videos today, but I'm happy to do a demo after this. I built a system where you could just send one message in WhatsApp or even SMS or WeChat and these different messaging apps, and it shares your GPS, and then one of our drivers comes and picks you up. We have an entire driver app, but for customers, it's just one message in these different messaging apps, and I'm happy to show that later. These are all the steps in Uber to request a ride. These are the steps in MotorsChat. We've launched already. Our go-to-market, plan or edge is using the unions. Many of these countries have, taxi unions for motorcycle taxis or for car use, and we're working with the unions instead of like Uber's model where they're kind of fighting against the unions. So this is our first city that we launched in Puerto Plata. I've lived there, almost 7 years now. This is the Presidente. He's one of our strongest partners, and basically there's a network of Presidentes that know each other, and so together they represent almost 500,000 motorcycle drivers just within union motorcycle drivers just within our first country. And these are drivers that are professionals, career drivers that would never use Uber or anything like that. Sometimes even the unions have rules against that, for many reasons. Uber takes 30%, so we've launched already. These are some of our quick KPIs on launch. It took me about 8 months to build the system, and then we've been live for 2.5 months. In our first 2.5 months, we reached almost 100 drivers, almost 100 passengers, completely bootstrapped, over 400 rides. We have a dashboard that can show all that. And then, of course, longer term, there's many ways to monetize that. I feel like taxis is absolutely our way to get into these markets, but this could really quickly turn into like a fintech platform where you're sending payments or you're paying for other services just with one message in our system. So there's many ways to monetize it once we reach our customers. So we're raising 100,000, and we have a safe for 5,000 just the other day. It looks like we just had a handshake deal for 50, so about 45 left. And that will get us into our next 3 countries, a certain amount of employees, so if we continue bootstrapping, like we've been doing, that's the red line here. If we're able to raise money, we can go many times faster to leverage employees in our marketing plan that I can get into. And then these are different types of, how much time do we have?
I think that's fine.
Great, yeah, these are different categories of companies that would absolutely acquire something like MotorsChat.
Awesome.
And we're involved in the accelerator, so.
Oh, cool. Okay, so you and Jules.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you give us a
Yeah, that's a big differentiator because that's one of the reasons why Uber and them are having trouble reaching these people because so many of these billions of people are unbanked and they don't have a debit card. So they're used to using cash every day. So our system is where it's a prepaid. So the drivers prepay, for example, in Puerto Plata, 10 pesos to receive a credit. And if they have credits in their account, passenger credits, then they're able to receive passengers on the platform. If they have 0 credits, we don't route any passengers to them. So there's no way to like game it or anything. And then to scale that, because it is kind of physical with cash, to scale that globally is like with our presidentes and the unions, they're the ones, they can buy credits from us at a discount and then sell it at face value to the drivers. So they become like our marketing partners so that we can scale, internationally with just a cash-based system. So that's part of the breakthrough there that differentiates us from the existing ones.
Thanks. All this my ignorance, but what country were you talking about? You never said.
Sorry, I didn't say, Dominican Republic.
Okay, that was not obvious.
All right, no, I had the flag, but I should have said that, yeah, right.
I don't know the Dominican one. Why can't the local taxi companies use WeChat to get to these customers? Why do they need you?
Well, it's not just like a WhatsApp group where it's just no code and you just send a message, come pick me up. It's a system that I built where we use, the APIs and the customer sends a message to our system and the system knows, how many drivers are, where they are, because they have our application. So I built an entire Android application for the drivers and I built a routing system that uses the APIs and these different messaging apps to receive the customers. So there's quite a bit of tech here, but it's I don't know if that answers exactly what you're asking.
It does, but the follow-up question.
Right.
It sounds like it's not for a rural marketplace. It's still cities, like Uber's addressing. Don't you think Uber's going to be there soon enough?
I mean, yeah, Uber is actually absolutely in a lot of these countries, but there's so many people absolutely in the rural areas that have never used Uber, but absolutely have WhatsApp. And there are motorcycle unions in all of these cities. So we're connecting the unions, the drivers that exist, like they'll be using the same drivers that they use every day. But these people, they don't need to leave their house and walk down to the motorcycle stop in the sun and go find one and hopefully someone's there. It's like using technology to connect, these kind of the last mile of people that, that are just doing it physically right now.
So is there a population critical mass that has to be there for you to go to work?
No, I mean, we're in Puerto Plata, that's quite a big city, it's like the 4th largest city, but the same model can absolutely work with, there's unions that are just, 10 people in certain cities, and it's just, there's no, I wouldn't say there's a minimum. But,
Are you planning to expand from that?
Absolutely, yeah, it's not just DR. I've lived in Malaysia, I've lived in 6 months in Indonesia where the light turns green and 1,000 motorcycles go across the street. I know that they use WhatsApp and, the infrastructure is there for so many, I have a global vision for this, for sure.
Okay, that's time, but I'm gonna ask you guys to ask
Thank you.
questions during the networking. I love how Anita, who is senior at Uber, literally jumped in. So, Alexander was telling me, Anita will probably take percent.
I've heard Uber did some experiments with
Yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna chat. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for the